What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I will be doing two looks with a new palette from LIMECRIME called IMMORTALIS. If that's not the most heavy metal palette name you have ever heard, you're lying. Maybe it's not metal. It sounds like an early 2000s AFI album or something. Was I the only one who was in love with Davey Havok in high school, by the way? Let me tell you, when I was 16, back to the palette, getting off track. This is an 8-pan palette from LIMECRIME in the Venus series. If I'm not mistaken, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they may have said that this is going to be their last Venus palette. It's all neutral, cool tones. It's very interesting. It's something that I don't have anything like, and I'm very excited to create a couple of looks with it today. Before we get into the video, I just want to make a quick announcement. A few of you guys have been asking me when I'm going to start up my Get Ready With Me series again. I am going to continue doing that series, but I do need to like spread it out a little bit, in part for my own sanity because it is a lot of work, but also because I have not quite yet decided what the next series we're going to start is. I have a couple of things in my mind. I've started a couple of books and not really liked them for the series, and I want to make sure that it's something that we all can like really get into if we're going to do that. So that's what's going on with that. When I decide and I have dates and I know what the format of it is going to be, I will let you know in a video. I will let you know in the community tab, and I will let you guys know on Instagram, so it'll be very hard to miss it, I promise. Before we get into it, please don't forget to take a second to just leave a like on this video because I find it very helpful and I really appreciate it. And also, if you are newish around here, you can go ahead and subscribe because I would absolutely, I would just eat it up if you would stick around for more videos. It's been like 72 years since I came up with like a clever, stupid reason for you guys to subscribe, but you know, one day I'll get it back. You know, I'll get that creativity, that little spark flaring up again. As always, I will timestamp each look as well as the review in the description down below, as well as link all the products that I use on my face in this video. So let's get started at look number 1 with the Venus Immortalis palette. Okay, so this is what the palette looks like. Personally, out of all of the Venus palette covers, this one is my favorite for multiple reasons. And this is what the palette looks like on the inside. It's obviously very monochromatic. It kind of really can give you a ghoulish goth feel if you want to. You can definitely get grunge out of it, but you could also definitely get some glam out of it. So although it is a little bit on the monochromatic side, and these are technically neutral shades, I think we could probably get some versatility out of it. But to show you why the packaging is super fun, I need to turn my lights off for a second. Stand by. Can I reach down there and not knock everything over? Can I not break down my whole studio trying to do this? Stay tuned to find out. Oh, it's still way too bright in here. What the hell? All right, brought you guys inside the little closet where I store my extra filming and lighting equipment because it's the only place in the house that's really far away from any windows. Please excuse the messiness in here. It's a little bit disorganized, but look how cool the front glows in the dark. Just the Venus though, so she really stands out. Inside, the packaging around the actual shadows glows in the dark as well. Does this affect the way the makeup performs at all? No. Not even a little tiny bit, but it's fun. So for the first look, I want to do like a really dark smoky eye with the color Unveil from this palette, plus some others obviously, but that's the color that I want to focus on. I did a little wee dabble in this palette yesterday, like right before I went in the shower. I sat down and I poked around with it a little bit to get an idea of what I wanted to do with it today. And I noticed that Unveil, while you could look at it and think that it might lean more of like a burgundy brown, when you actually put it on, it has a very cool undertones and gives a very like bloody red impression, like darker than blood obviously, but like almost bruised like. So I think that's going to be the focus of this look. But first I want to put down a little bit of a transition, and I am going to start with the shade Cameo. Picking up my BH number 6 brush, gonna go right into that shade and start placing it around the crease area, bringing it up pretty high. It's a light shade, so you can go a little crazy with it. Next, on my NABLA large shader brush, I'm gonna go right into the shade Unveil, and I'm gonna start packing that right from my lash line up to the crease area. You may notice as I'm applying shadows today that there's like a bump in the middle of my eyelid. Just try to ignore that. I thought I had a sty for a couple of days and I was very upset, and so I decided to let my eyes rest. I didn't wear any makeup, and I don't think it was a sty because it went away really quickly. So I think it was just like a weird middle of my eyelid pimple, which I have never experienced before, but it has been going away very quickly, so I'm not going to complain. Packing that shade down, not really worrying too much about how much of the end looks uneven right now, just trying to get the general shape that I want because we're gonna go back and blend it in a moment. As you can see, this shade is very, very rich and very, very deep, but it's also like a little bit like reddish purple undertones. It's interesting. I don't think I have a shade quite like this, which I always like in a palette. I always enjoy when I get something that I can't dupe out very easily. I'm just gonna pick up my BH number 7 and start blending the edge of that out. I might add some more on the end and like bring the shape up a little bit higher, but I wanted to start blending a little bit for now. Now that I have this base color down on this eye, I'm noticing that I'm getting that situation where the color looks a little bit patchy on my big camera, but in person it doesn't look like that. So I would like to show you, because every time I say that this happened, I get people in the comments who are like, that doesn't make any sense. Let me show you. I'm gonna insert a little clip that I took just now, sitting here right in this exactly the same lighting, so you guys could see what it looks like in different circumstances. There's a clip of what it looks like on my other camera, which is way closer to what it actually looks like, if that makes sense. But I wanted you guys to see like the reality of what I'm seeing in person, because I do think it looks like a really good eyeshadow. It looks nice. It blended really well. It was pretty easy to put down. I didn't have any issues with it. For some reason, on certain cameras, sometimes it just picks up really weird and patchy, especially around the crease. So I don't know why that is, but I wanted you guys to see. Now that that base color is down on the lid, I want to deepen a little bit toward the outer corners. I'm gonna use my Sigma E36 brush and I'm gonna go into the shade Unseen. Honestly, it's just going to deepen it the tiniest bit. But in my opinion, I like when these very like almost one color across the whole lid looks have just a bit of subtle dimension. I think it makes them a bit more, it elevates them, if you will. On a Real Technique shading brush, I'm gonna go into a little bit of the shade Echo. I'm gonna pop that right on the center of the lid. Am I? But am I though? Because nothing's happening. What the hell is that? Hold on. Okay, let's try wetting this. There we go. Okay, now we've got some shade going down. What the fuck? That was so weird. This is really strange the way this is applying right now. If I don't make it super damp, it's like not putting down any color at all. But once I dampen it, it's fine. But I have to like literally dampen it every single time I pick some up on the brush, or it literally does nothing, which is fine, whatever. If I need to wet it to apply it, then I will, but I just have never experienced that with an eyeshadow before, and it just is strange. I mean, it could be because I'm applying it over the matte underneath it, but again, I mean, I've done that 1,000 times with a million different eyeshadows and I've never had that happen before. So it's quite odd. Let me show you what I mean on my other eye. So this is the same brush. It should previously be a little bit damp still. Normally that's plenty. If I put it down without soaking the brush, literally nothing comes off on my lid. So I'll show you in real time. Dip, 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 dip. Pat, 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 pat. Like there's like just a hint of shimmer there. Like what? So I'm gonna take the same amount on the same brush and I'm going to wet it. And that's how it looks. Once it's actually on, it looks really cool. It definitely isn't the easiest to work with, but it looks nice. It's real weird. Just to add another little bit of brightness, I'm gonna go into the shade Hail. I'm actually just gonna pick it up on my finger this time and just dab it right in the center. It's just a little bit more metallic, so I feel like it will bring a little pop of light and dimension to the look. Okay, I put down a bunch of powder over my concealer because the fallout in the last two colors that I used it was a situation. For the lower lash line, I'm gonna go right in with the shade Unveil and continue that smoky eye look that we started to create with that. So I'm gonna pick it up first on a pencil brush. I'm gonna start dragging it along the lower lashes. I'm gonna blend that out with my BH number 6 just along the edge. I'm gonna go ahead and sweep away the powder from under that eye now that I'm done with that dark shade. On a clean pencil brush, I'm going to go into the shade Moth, and I'm going to pack that on the inner corner. This is a shimmery kind of satin finish shade. It's a little bit like taupe, but there's like a hint of a pink shift in there. So I think it'll make for an interesting inner corner highlight and like work with the shades around it a little bit. I'm anticipating that I'm going to need to wet this, but let's try it first without doing so. It's actually not bad on its own, but we're gonna try wetting it anyway. Yeah, definitely a little bit better wet, but usable when not wet, which is that's what I usually expect of anything. I'm going to line the waterline with black. I'm just gonna grab this MAC Technicohl black. This is the one from the Aladdin collection, and run it through my waterline. This is one of my favorite blacks, not my absolute favorite black, but it's the closest one that was near me on my desk, so it'll get the job done and we're gonna use it. I finished up my skin. I used a pinkish highlight today because I just felt like that went so well with the colors that I have on the eyes. What I used was Divinizer from NABLA. I also added a few faux freckles with my Urban Decay Brow Blade in Brunette Betty. And the lashes that I'm wearing today are new. These are from COLEY Cosmetics. They're the Brooklyn lashes. Nicole, or COLEY MUA on Instagram, is somebody that I have been Instagram friends with for years, and she recently started her own cosmetics company, and they started with lashes, and these are the Brooklyn set, and they are absolutely beautiful. They are so fluffy and wispy and black, and I'm really impressed with them for a first launch. These are incredible quality. They also were like super long, so I trimmed quite a bit of them off, and I think it would look cool for this look. Now you could just leave it like this obviously and just have like a smoky eye look, but I was thinking it would look super cool to do like an extra piece of lash underneath from what I cut off, just for fun, just to make it a little bit more interesting and artsy. You can totally skip that part if you don't like it, if you don't want to do it, but you know what? I want to. I'm into it. I'm excited. I'm glad that I cut off this huge chunk of eyelash, and I'm going to glue it back onto the bottom. Is this comfortable? No. Is it practical? Definitely not. Is it going to make a really cool Instagram photo? You bet your sweet bibby it is. For the lip, I want to keep it a little bit neutral, and I want to make it glossy. So I am going to be using my current favorite gloss at the moment. This is 1993 from Urban Decay in their Hi-Fi Shine glosses. One of the things I really like about this gloss is that it kind of takes on a slightly different personality depending on how you pair it. You could do it by itself or just put a different kind of a nude underneath and switches things up a bit. So the nude that I'm going to use underneath today is the NABLA lip pencil in the color Attractive. And this is the first look. For the second look, just like with look number one, I'm going to start with the shade Cameo, my BH number 6, and I'm going to start putting that through my crease. This is the only color in this palette that seems sort of transition-y, unless your skin is a lot deeper than mine, in which case then you could probably use Ash as a transition if you didn't mind going like full-on cool toned. Speaking of Ash, that's the color I'm going to go into next on my BH number 7 brush. I'm going to use that color through my crease to deepen it up, and I'm going to put a little bit of that on the outer corner of the eye as well. And of course, blending the edge of that with a clean brush. On my Sigma E36 brush, I'm going to go into the shade Unseen, which is the matte black again, and I was going to use that to deepen up the outer corner and the outer portion of the crease. And now that that general shape is done, I'm going to cut the inner half with some concealer. I'm going to grab a light concealer shade on the back of my hand and my NABLA Cut Crease Maker brush and just cut the inner portion. On the innermost portion of that cut, I'm going to go into the shade Hail, which is the most metallic shade in this palette. I'm going to pick that up on a MAC 221 brush, and I am going to dampen it quite a bit. That color is actually gorgeous. We only used a tiny bit of that in the first look. I'm very impressed with how that one looks on the lid. I like that. Next to that, I'm gonna go in with the same brush and into the shade Echo. Again, this is the one that was giving us a little bit of trouble earlier, that we need to wet the living bejesus out of it. I'm just gonna place that down next to the brighter shade. On my MAC 221 brush, I'm gonna go back into the shade Ash. I'm gonna use that to blend the edge of that into the outer corner of the eye and the crease, and deepen up the outer corner a little bit again by going back into Unseen, putting that right close to the outermost portion of the lid. For the inner corner of the eye, I want to add a little something, a little tickle of fun. I'm gonna pick up that flat MAC brush and I'm gonna use the Urban Decay Heavy Metal Glitter Gel in the color Disco Daydream. And with that flat brush and that glitter gel, I'm gonna follow the inner portion of the cut crease and just trace the shape of that with the glitter to like amp it up and brighten that inner corner and add some texture to it. But I don't want it to be completely all the way over that silver shade because I don't want to completely cover it up. So I'm concentrating it mostly right here. And then as I get to the edge of where I put it down, it's going to tap out over it so it starts to disperse over the shadows. I concealed and powdered, and now it's time to start working on the lower lash line. So I'm going to go into the color Ash again. And I'm going to drag that pretty low under my lower lashes on a pencil brush. I'm gonna grab a MAC 217 brush and I'm gonna go into the shade Marble over here. I played with this a little bit yesterday when I first dipped into this palette, and I noticed that Marble seems almost like a matte satin highlight shade or like a topper shade. It's not super potent, but I think it would make a really nice brow bone highlight with these shades. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of that right underneath my brow bone. Ooh, I like that. Okay, I'm glad we did that. I think it's very pretty. I also feel a little bit like Tim Curry. On a MAC 228 brush, just this little smudgy brush, I'm gonna go back into Unseen and I'm just gonna smudge that under the outer portion of my lower lash line. Initially, I was thinking I was gonna brighten the waterline with this look, but I changed my mind. I'm gonna go back through it with black. Again, this is the same pencil from the first one. It's the MAC Chroma pencil in black. On this little itty bitty baby pencil brush from e.l.f., I'm gonna pick up more of Disco Daydream from Urban Decay. I'm gonna bring that underneath my inner corner as well. Yes, now we are talking. I'm gonna go finish up this eye, add lashes again, and then we will pair this with a lip. I'm thinking something deep and sultry and burgundy. Okay, I added the same lashes, finished up the skin. The skin's mostly the same as the first round, but I switched it out to a champagne highlight because I thought that went better with this look. For the lips, I want to do something burgundy. So why not literally use the MAC Burgundy lip pencil? The name is right there on the pencil for us. We don't even have to think about it. And over the top, I am going to use the MAC Love Me lipstick in the shade E for Effortless, which is a beautiful deep red shade. It's gonna be very glam. It's gonna be very Rocky Horror, and I'm living for the whole thing. And this is the second look. So, what do we think? What are my thoughts? What's on my mind? Those are all three the same thing. First and foremost, packaging. Really cool, very compact, goes along with the theme. It's unique with the glow in the dark setup. I like it in general. I think that it's really cool that for each Venus palette, they keep it on theme with the same Venus cover, but always change it up to reflect what the colors are on the inside. I think that's a neat way to do it. As far as the assortment of colors, I don't think that you could do a cool neutrals palette and have it be any more balanced than this, especially on an 8 shade palette. 8 is not a ton of shades, and I think they did a really good job of giving you everything that you could need to make several looks with a palette like this, given that it is a monochromatic palette. The performance overall was good, except for those little things that I mentioned. Like we spoke about during the tutorial, Unveil looked great in person. It looked great on my point and shoot, but for some reason on this camera, you could see a lot of patchiness in it when it was applied. That doesn't look like that in person though, so unless you're somebody who films makeup videos, I don't think that would affect you negatively at all, but worth making note of nonetheless. And the shade Echo, wow, what a strange experience. I have never in my life used an eyeshadow that completely doesn't apply to the lid unless you use it wet. It's really, really strange, really bizarre, just so weird. That being said, once I wet it, it was absolutely beautiful, but like I feel like they need to like put something. Did I miss it? Is there something on this that said some of these need to be used wet? Because if there was, it has not been made very clear to me. I always say I don't mind when a shimmer performs better wet. It doesn't really affect my judgment of a palette because it's just something that's a technique that people use in makeup. So a lot of shimmers are going to be best when applied with a damp brush. However, I have never had an experience before where something literally doesn't show up at all unless you wet the brush, and you have to wet it a lot too. It's not even like damp, like I had to soak the brush before it really even started working. It was very, very strange. It's not terrible, it's not unworkable, just weird and worth mentioning. Marble actually really surprised me because yesterday when I first picked up the palette and started playing with it, it seemed really underwhelming, but as a brow bone highlight, and I would also assume as an inner corner highlight, it's really nice. It's like the perfect amount of a little hint of luminous finish that just brings an area out and just really brings light to it, and it blended really, really nicely. Overall, I had a really good time with this palette, although there were a couple little strange things. I found that most of the shades worked really well, and I do really like that it is quite unique on the market right now. Like, I don't think that I could think of another palette off the top of my head that's exactly like this, which is always really fun. Those are my thoughts overall. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think. If it's just your thoughts on what this palette looks like, or if you have purchased it and you have your own set of opinions, I would love to know in the comments down below. Please don't forget to leave a like on this video if you don't mind taking a moment to do that, because it's very helpful and I really appreciate it. And also, if you are new around here, go ahead and subscribe because I would love to have you around for more videos. If you would like to keep up with me between those videos, you can go ahead and find me on Instagram. I am at Miss Quinface, and I do lots of more intricate lip art and more creative makeup over there. I also post on my stories behind the scenes, PR unboxings. We take polls about what's going to happen here on this channel. And I would love to have you over there and would love for you not to miss out on that stuff. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you hanging out with me today, and I will see you in the next one. Please don't forget to take a minute to honestly, it's just with butter. How is there a bug flying around in here? It's fall. Go back to hell where you belong. It's like a whole ass horsefly. This concealer looks fucking crazy. That's gonna need to dry for another moment. So I'm gonna grab a light concealer. I'm gonna use, just get on my first.